America is a promise of freedom, liberty, and justice. The story of Juneteenth, as we celebrate it, is the story of our ongoing fight to realize America's promise. Not for some, but for all. So let us all stand together as Americans to teach and honor our history, to protect our liberty, and to continue the fight for freedom.
Now that's all neoliberals really have to offer, words and not substance. This kind of talk comes from the same group that can't even do the bare minimum and pass the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act or the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, or on the economic side of the ledger, how about increasing the federal minimum wage or making universal health care a reality in the United States of America, as we are the only industrialized nation that does not have universal health care? How about those things? And this is that kind of talk. But one opinion piece in particular spoke to the manner in which neoliberals and other politicians have co-opted the holiday for their own agenda. This headline, "Can we admit mainstreaming Juneteenth has been a disaster?" Nearly 2 years after being nationally recognized, the celebration of Black American emancipation has turned into a misguided holiday of performativity. That's all it is. It's just perfunctory for far too many of these people. And then you got folks in the background just clapping and hooping it up. They don't even know what they're clapping for, hooping it up for. Because if they really want to get down to the essence of what Juneteenth is all about and what it should be about, it is not just about these flowery speeches. It really is about moving the needle on justice for Black Americans in this country. Since the racial uprising of 2020, this sacred holiday has now become mainstreamed into something that now feels whitewashed, co-opted, and highly performative. This is coming from Ernest Owens of the Daily Beast. I started to notice it last year when Walmart thought it was being progressive when they released a red velvet and cheesecake flavored Juneteenth ice cream with a Pan-African decorated cartoon. Can y'all believe that? Again, I would need more reams of paper, but Ernest is laying this out. Fun fact, Juneteenth has never incorporated African-themed colors or designs as part of its official flag. Organizers use red, white, and blue to replicate the US and Texas state flags. Walmart just couldn't help but pander to customers as a way to flex that they were recognizing Black people. You know, if they really wanted to recognize Black people, they would increase the minimum wage of their workers, many of whom are Black people. Now, Ernest continues to hit the nail on the head as he dives in a little deeper. In so many ways, the desire to mainstream Juneteenth has now led to much of its press and publicity being met with pandering or controversy. It reminds me of Black History Month, when perhaps there was a moment in time in which America tried to take the shortest time frame of the year seriously to acknowledge the contributions of Black people. For what it's worth, symbolism will do nothing to liberate a marginalized group at a time when racial disparities continue to worsen and white supremacy feels even more visibly prevalent. Corporations and city and or state governments bandwagoning on Juneteenth celebrations do very little to combat this reality. And even further, having elected leaders, and I don't care if they're on what level of government they are, talk about how we're gonna continue to work to make freedom ring, does nothing to bring the type of justice that Black people in this country absolutely deserve, not just for right now in the present, but for future generations and all that Black people that on the ancestral plane fought for us to have. Jordan, any thoughts on this? I sigh deeply and I've run out of paper.
I'm fed up with everybody trying to wash their image, and it's June, so you have to acknowledge the way they try to rainbow wash their brand at the same time they're trying to Juneteenth wash their brand. So I got an email this weekend from the company that I got my PC from, and I saw an Instagram post about how they're celebrating Juneteenth. How? What are you doing? What are you as a computer company doing other than just posting it on your Instagram? Do something meaningful. And so often we see time and time and time again, these companies who, like Walmart, just as all of these companies who want to rainbow wash, talk about how, we're so celebratory, we're so happy about this, we share in your joy and we stand with you. And then behind the scenes, they funnel a bunch of money to right-wing politicians who are actively trying to make the lives of those impacted worse. For these companies on Juneteenth, they're funneling money to these Republicans who are fighting back against the renaming of Confederate bases or the removal of Confederate statues. For Pride, it's anti-gay, anti-LGBT politicians or people who are actively waging a culture war against our trans friends. Across the board, these companies like to take holidays like this, take months of observation like this, and use them for positive PR purposes. I challenge any of them to do something meaningful. And it goes all the way up to the top of the Democratic Party even. For them to sit and act like they care about Juneteenth, for them to act like they care about the well-being of Black Americans. As this year, again, they're trying to increase police funding. One of the ways that we just talked about in the last segment, one of the ways that helps perpetuate the legacy of slavery in this country. That is how that process starts. Interactions with the police. They want to increase an already militarized police force's funding. Do something meaningful for once.
There it is, and the federal government actually militarized the police, so they play a big role in that by sending what they would call unused, recycled military equipment to police departments, which you don't need that, because this is not how policing should happen.